I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
What? No. We do not want any adventures here. Good morning.
LEGO The Hobbit was released back in April of 2014, 10 years ago. And like most LEGO games since LEGO Star Wars, it's a game that's almost entirely based on recent movies. Yes, I know not every LEGO game is directly based on movies, but most of them are. And for all intents and purposes, it's a pretty standard LEGO game, but in my opinion, it's definitely one of the better ones, almost based purely on the IP alone, and the fact that this does have a little mini LEGO open world of Middle-earth that you can explore, and it's absolutely amazing and very charming. But at its core, it's still a LEGO game, and odds are you have played a LEGO game. You've probably played more than a few, and you kind of always know what to expect with a LEGO game. But LEGO The Hobbit is an interesting game though, because it's not a complete game. You see, LEGO The Hobbit is based on two of the Hobbit films that were released around the same time: The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey and The Hobbit: The Desolation of Smaug. If you are familiar with the films, you will know that there was a third film, Battle of the Five Armies. But why doesn't LEGO The Hobbit cover these events? Let's talk about it.
Well, that could have been worse.
Now, like I said, LEGO The Hobbit released in April of 2014, a few months after the release of the second film in the trilogy, The Desolation of Smaug, released December of 2013. So when it was released, it made sense only two films were covered because at the time, there were only two films released. But when the final film of the trilogy released that December, there was no DLC or updates to LEGO The Hobbit. Now, depending on where you look online, you'll see multiple reports claiming that the DLC was never planned for the game, that they had no plans to release the content based on Battle of the Five Armies, the film. But the publisher did say in a statement issued to GameSpot, the game provides an excellent setup for the concluding chapter of Peter Jackson's films, The Hobbit: The Battle of the Five Armies. There are no plans to develop DLC based on the final film in the trilogy. And I find that really weird of them to say, considering that they did mention it before in an article by Game Informer. They went through and found a press release from Warner Brothers back when the third film was still titled The Hobbit There and Back Again, a better title in my opinion, and the press release reads, "Additional content based on the third film, The Hobbit There and Back Again, is planned to be available at a future release date," says a press release from Warner Brothers dated April 8th, 2014. Now, the article continued briefly, and they thought that it could potentially be employed to release a LEGO Hobbit Complete Edition, at some point, that includes all three films in one game. But obviously, it being 10 years later, that obviously never happened. Now, they did actually release paid DLC for the game, but it was just some characters and nothing really substantial. I mean, you can play as Baby Smaug and Baby Gimli, so, worth all the money right there. Now, that's kind of where the story ended originally for many years. Warner Brothers never made any follow-up statements as to why the DLC was canceled, just that they decided to lie and say that it was never planned when days before the game came out, they definitely did plan on it. Remember, that statement to Game Informer was April 8th, the game released April 14th. But why is that? Why did we never get the concluding chapter of LEGO The Hobbit? We can only speculate, but to me, the obvious answer is money. They didn't see LEGO The Hobbit as something worth the time and money to continue to support it. Now, when you look at the list of the top-selling LEGO games of all time, The Hobbit is not in there. But that's totally fine. It doesn't need to be in the top-selling LEGO games of all time to still be considered successful. But when you look at the VG charts of units sold, when it comes to LEGO games, and this takes every version separately, right? So you're going to see a PS2 copy of LEGO Star Wars and a 3DS copy of LEGO Lord of the Rings separate from like they count individually based on the console that it shipped on. They're not lumping them all together as one, if that makes sense. Like, if you look at this list, you're going to see like 5 different versions of LEGO Star Wars, the complete saga. So when we look at this list of, all the top-selling LEGO games, and you can scroll on through, you don't see anything Hobbit related till number 39, and that's LEGO Lord of the Rings, not LEGO The Hobbit. LEGO The Hobbit does not appear on the list of the most sold LEGO games until number 98. And that's the main console release, not some 3DS port. So, it's in my opinion that shortly after the release of LEGO The Hobbit, that they looked at the numbers and decided it wasn't worth the money to continue working on the DLC, if they hadn't even started. Now, there was brief speculation in 2019 that it could be released, and by speculation I mean like a random Reddit post. Because the game was removed from all digital storefronts, and some speculation online thought that it could be a potential complete edition on the way, so they're getting rid of the original version. But it did eventually reappear back on digital storefronts in 2020, and it was the exact same game, taken down for licensing issues, no doubt. But that's where our story ends. A pretty solid LEGO game that ends on a cliffhanger ending, never to be completed. Thank you for watching. If you've played the game, let me know what you think. Did it even need to be completed?
Can we cook him?
We can try.